Okay, so the recording is started. So once again, welcome to today's AGS Prime presentation about our Apprenticeship Building America application. So while everybody, a few more people get signed in here, we have a few other folks coming on. I know there was a DOL ETA office hour session just before this that some folks might be leaving and coming into. I want to say thank you for being here with me for your busy schedules. I know it's WIPS week for those of you who are running H-1B projects already. I know it's WIPS week. We've been busy supporting customers, getting their reports in and helping them through that process. And it's just a busy time of year. So I really appreciate your time. Picture being worth 1,000 words. Here's just some of the graphics of some of our customers. Many of these logos are from other H-1B customers, from Scaling Apprenticeship or Closing the Skills Gap, One Workforce, and then just some AGS Prime customers. So just kind of maybe some of these are recognizable to you as some of your colleagues. So today's learning goals come right out of the email invite. No smoke and mirrors, no changing things around on you here. So we're going to just spend a few minutes going through a couple of slides, and then we're going to jump over to Prime and run through a couple of applications so you can see what it looks like. First, I'm just going to talk a little bit about who we are, give you just a little bit of an introduction about who AGS is, a little bit about what is AGS Prime, how does it track data, blah, 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 that kind of thing. That's very important for you to really have some details around. Then I'm going to swizzle over to a demo, a live demo, show you a couple of different pre-built applications now that represent the premise, the baseline, if you will, for our new template for Apprenticeship Building America. And then we'll swizzle back to slides, a couple of bullets about implementation so we can get a feel for what does it mean to start working with this tool for your project. That's always a big question. And then just my follow-up information if what you see today is of interest, you have more questions, or you want to take a little bit of a slower walkthrough, because today it's going to be kind of a jog through and a sprint at times, just to make sure we cover everything in the time that we have. But my job is education, so I am here to get back together with you if you want, bring other teammates in if you would like, ask more details, or whatever might come out of today's session. So that's the plan for the day. If that's what you thought you were going to do in the next half an hour, you are in the right place. So let's go ahead and dive in. So first of all, just a little bit about AGS. We are actually American Government Services, but that's just too long to say, so we just kind of go by AGS. That's the easiest thing to say. We are 23 years plus in business. We have very much focused in all of these years on supporting DOL and DOL ETA grants, in particular WIA, then WIOA, all of the rounds of TACT grants, if you're familiar with those grants, all of the H-1B grants for Tech Hire, Strengthening Working Families Initiative, or SWIFI, and the America's Promise grants. Those have all sunsetted now. We are currently working with hundreds of organizations for supporting their Scaling Apprenticeship, Closing the Skills Gap, One Workforce, and rural healthcare H-1B grants, along with career dislocated worker and soon to be Apprenticeship Building America, and the Good Jobs Challenge. So what we have done over these 23 years is provided a no-code platform for our customers to subscribe to Prime, to build their own application or applications for whatever they want to do. Starts with a problem kind of thing, right? As well as we build out, using our own tool, pre-built compliant templates for the series of grants that you've heard me rattle off, so that our customers who are grantees, um, who are managing these, really kind of complex grants with all these business rules and WIPS reporting and all this stuff that might be familiar to some and may be very new to others. We provide you a framework, a pre-built compliant data management and reporting environment for your staff or your partners to do the data entry. And you'll see what the forms look like in a moment. That have the required fields and field values and field help that comes directly from the federal Pearl, if you're familiar with the Pearl, and then gives you the, click the magic button to produce your WIPS report in the compliance specification that's put forth by the feds for your WIPS uploading. We build these systems specifically for compliance and to help our customers get the technology off the critical path, if you will, and you can focus on how are you going to find these thousands of apprentices or work with your employers and do all of that heavy lifting and creative work, while the application gives you a case management business process on one side of the line, so to speak, right? Because it's humans helping humans. So we want to have a familiar database, if you will. But we also want to have the other foot on the other side of the line that says, yeah, okay, so we're doing this case management stuff, but we want it to capture the data that's going to be required for that compliance report at the end of the quarter. And so we kind of give you both of those all in one centralized web-based application. So that's what we do. We've been doing it very successfully for many, many years. We really provide this personal service, one-on-one training in a very high-tech, high-touch environment. We buy software too. I know how important support is. As you get more mature with your grants, our customers lean on us less and less, but that's a very big part of what we offer, because it's not trivial and there's a lot of money involved and there's a lot of goodwill that's involved, and we're here to help you. So that's kind of what we do. A variety of different organizations work with us. We work with hundreds of grantees from community colleges, workforce boards, training providers, large and small, believe me, hospitals, home healthcare organizations, kind of anybody, any type of an organization that's tracking services provided to humans. Very typically, we want to help organizations who are tracking people who need a skill or a better skill or a different skill to get those skills and then get a job or get a better job and track those outcomes, instead of all the holes in between where services and case notes and all that stuff really happens, and track all of that for you. So that's kind of who we work with. Prime itself is, as I said earlier, is a no-code platform. It's a PaaS, a platform as a service. For years, we've all heard SaaS, the software as a service, and PaaS is not right hot off the press, but it's a newer type of commercial product that's out there, and Prime is a PaaS. So our customers can subscribe to AGS Prime, and they can use it as non-programmers, non-application developers, people like me, maybe even some of you, who know data, you know what reports you need, and you understand, the basics of your database, your data structure, but you don't know application development coding. This is exactly the kind of environment that you want to be able to play in, where you can build your own forms, your own data sets, your own fields, build your own business rules if you want, build your own queries, build your own pretty reports, what we call data visualizations, put them all together in a dashboard, right? And do all of that without having to hire us, hire outside consulting firms, or have in-house special technologists. And we provide you all of the training to know everything there is to know about Prime to do all of that. So that's really what Prime is. As I've said, we provide Prime as just the platform, and we provide Prime as the platform along with pre-built templates. So we have some customers who subscribe just to the platform because they want to build their own thing. And we've got some customers who have built some really sophisticated applications, believe me. And then we have some customers who also subscribe to the platform and subscribe to one or more of the templates, depending upon the grants. Some customers have more than one H-1B grant, and so they have all of those different applications, and they're building their own on top of it. So it's kind of a mix, and that's really what Prime is intended to do, is to help organizations manage data and analytics without needing to have specialty application development or technology teams. So, as I've said already, we're talking today about pre-built applications to be able to fast track, your on-ramping to a grant. It's quickly deployable because it's already built. For these grants that are requiring WIPS reporting and Perl-based reporting, inherent to that, of course, is record level, participant individual record layout. So we have participant level data that's compliant for the Perl for your WIPS for 2022 reporting. We also provide, in the way of support beyond the training, we provide monthly user group meetings for our individual grants as well as for the Prime platform itself. So in addition to all of the other support that we provide you, the application admin training, the keeping the templates up to date as the feds make changes, and they do all the time. And so we take that burden off of your plate. We keep the systems up to date, communicate the updates to you on a monthly basis in our user group sessions, emails. In addition to that, when needed, like I sent one out today to our SA and CSG folks. And these monthly user group sessions give us a chance to not only tell you all what we're doing, but provides the community for you to ask each other questions about policy, or what are you guys doing when a thing like this happens, and blah blah blah. So it's a really nice ongoing set of support mechanisms in place for our customers. So of course we're tracking WIPS. We've talked about that. We're going to keep track of all of that WIPS compliant participant data, right, in a case management process. We are also have integrated into these templates, and always have, a CRM, the employer side, right? The supply side, but also the demand side. What are employers looking for? What are the job openings? What are the apprenticeships that need to be fulfilled? And details about the employer and detail about the jobs and who fulfilled them. And be able to see who fulfilled what job, if you're from this side of the fence, or if you're from the employer side, who was it and what did they look like, who filled this kind of a job. So you have that integrated, holistic approach of what's going on with your customers, whether the client is the employer or whether the client is the participant. So that's a really key thing that we believe is a competitive differentiator brought to the table, that within one system, ease of training, ease of access of data, right? It's all within one system. Okay, so then of course, reports. We're going to look today at the first among equals, which is our WIPS report. I'll show you a couple of different versions of that for a couple of different projects, so you can kind of see what we do and how we do it. and then take a look at some other canned reports that you also get in your templates, as well as queries. Every field from every form is exportable by you. It's your data. We simply host it for you. So the pre-built templates come with canned reports that you're expecting, like your WIPS report, and queries to be able to have access to all of your data. So that's the kind of reporting capabilities that are baked into the templates, as well as, of course, we train you to build your own if there's other reports or other queries that you need. That obviously, working with all of our customers, everybody has a little different slice, so everybody has to be able to create their own reports. We don't know everything about everything, so we let you do that as well. So I think without further ado, we're going to jump over to the demonstration. Let me make sure that I have this launched. Okay, here we go. So here's my AGS Prime demo site for AGS Prime and apprenticeship, or for H-1B grants, for an apprenticeship grant tracking. So we are still waiting for the final performance rules for Apprenticeship Building America. So we have not finished the template. I just want to be very clear. We have not finalized the template. So what I'm going to show you today are going to be examples that we are leveraging to fast track that new template build. I just don't want there to be any smoke and mirrors about this. We have not finished that because the feds have not published the final rule on that. But we are expecting the Pearl, the apprenticeship Pearl, to be the Pearl that is the required schema for this grant. Okay, and that is a significant Pearl, but we are way down the path to having that done, because the apprenticeship Pearl is very close to, not exact, but very close to the career dislocated worker Pearl, which we have already finished and have customers uploading to WIPS with. So it won't take us long to finish this. We'll be done with this long before the feds have gone through their second and third round of buffing and polishing, I'm sure. But in any event, so what I want to show you are a couple of examples of our H-1B and WIPS reporting templates for different types of grants. So you can see our approach to this. So this is a demo site, so there's no live data here, where we keep track of participant data. And I'll come back to this, where we see all of our participants in this case folder environment. We see our employer management data, that CRM for employers. I've logged in as an administrator, so I see the application administrative features. Okay, you're going to undoubtedly have users who should not have access to admin, so you have a built-in security roles settings already built into the template for you to leverage. So you can get your users assigned to what they can do or not based on what they're supposed to be able to do. I've logged in as an administrator, so I see the admin role. Of course, we see reports. And in my demo site, I've got a page for analytics that gives me a dashboard, just sort of a quick example of what you can do if you wanted to build additional graphical representations against your data. Dashboards can even have parameters built in if you want. And all of these H-1B grants, and probably the apprentice as well, we always provide a self-registration module for self-registration of at least initial data to offload some of that initial demographic information and have potential participants fill out some of that data and attach particular documents that you may decide are going to be required to help you determine eligibility. Okay. So this is, again, just my demo page. The fields that you see here in my demo mostly mirror the fields that are part of the staff participant management. But believe me, all of our customers use this to gather additional information that has nothing to do with the grant. We don't care. We totally support that because you have already, built-in business processes that you've been doing for a long time, right? And you can have, multiple attachments and consent language here and that sort of thing. So that's very, very common. Many of our customers have one or more attachments that are required as part of their self-registration process: a photo ID, a resume, a transcript, timesheets over time, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of baked in. Again, not all of our customers use it, but most people do. Let me jump back to reports, and I want to just quickly run this WIPS report. So I'm going to run this WIPS report from here so you can get a feel for how we handle, if you were using an AGS Prime template, what it would look like to run your WIPS report. And believe me, it's WIPS week, so we've been working with WIPS all week with our customers. So you're just going to pick your grant, and you'll already have filled in these keywords. I'll pick my H-1B grant. It's calendar year 2022. It's Q2. For the purposes of demo, I'm going to include header just so you can see it, but in real life, you would never include your header. We give you an error checking file reporter, even though there's error checking on every field throughout the application and our Perl fields, but we always give you one last error checking report just to make sure you're right. Rule 1 of project management: no, manage surprises, right? We don't want any surprises. So I'm going to say, but for the purposes of a demo, because I know I've got errors, I'm going to say yes, ignore my error file, and I'm going to go ahead and run this report. It's going to take just a couple of seconds to run. And there's my report. And I'll make this a little bigger. I'll expand these columns, make this a little bigger, just so you can, if you're familiar with WIPS, now you're going to get an idea of these are the columns across this. Because I've opened up this file in Excel, it strips out leading zeros. So if you're familiar with that, it's not the greatest data specification in the world, but it is how it is. So when you run these, you never want to save this. You want to just toggle over to the feds and see this. Is everybody seeing my screen, by the way? Okay, good. I seem to be getting some weird message from GoToTraining. Okay, so we just kind of scroll over and we see more and more of these fields, and there's a lot of fields in this WIPS report. But that should kind of give you an idea of what our customers do. They run their report. It downloads, they toggle over to the WIPS system, and they upload their file out of AGS Prime. That's all there is to it. Other reports that we provide, and this is really the second most popular report, is the code book. So for those of you who are analysts on this call, having a code book, and I'll pick on the WIPS CSV file, and we will provide this for ABA as well, where you want to know everything there is about every data element in your Perl for this grant. So everything is listed by DE plus information that came directly from that very large and hard to read spreadsheet, right? We digest that here for you so you can see here's what the Perl says. And now where does that live and how does it live in Prime? How does AGS handle this record? How do they handle this data? So we say, well, here's this, this is a bad example. This field is not part of this grant, so I'll skip to a different one. Let me go to, I'll go to the Perl number 2103, most recent date received an assessment service. So we see where does it live in, from the Pearl perspective. Then where does it live in Prime? It's on the assessment form, the date, the name of the field, the name of the field for WIPs for our own processing. And then how do we handle this if it's for error checking, where there are aliases, we'll provide aliases. Now everything is completely handled in Prime. So you have, as analysts, this is really golden for you. So there's everything that goes on in Prime is documented here. As the feds make changes, and they do, we keep the code book up to date, and that is in sync with the application. Okay. If you were interested in everybody's favorite field, 1813, right? Just gives you information about that. If you want to do searches for everything for incumbent, you can find all the fields that deal with incumbent, etc., etc. So the code book is super, super important, and I think very helpful. One last report that I want to just show you here is the ability to run your own QPR. So this does not replace what the feds send back to you for validation, but again, we want you to be able to run your own QPR in advance of what you'll get back from the feds so that you always know where you are. And of course, it's just a good feeling to validate that what's in Prime is what the feds acknowledge as well. So again, we keep this this QPR, I'll make this a little bigger, in sync with how the feds present this. It looks a little different for ABA than here, but just to give you a sense of what this is going to look like, or how this will behave for you. So we'll just do the automatic calculations, and when you get your report back from the feds, you always want to validate that this is the same, and you're good to go. So lots of reports, lots of queries, lots of analytics. I want to jump over to the participant side so you can see what that looks like if we're dealing with a participant. I'm going to open up Alexia Abrams, just happens to be a handy customer. So this is what it looks like as a staff person managing participant data. So this is like the electronic file cabinet. Like I got up and walked out of my chair, walked to the file cabinet, pulled out the A drawer, took out the manila file folder for Abrams, Alexia, came back to my desk, opened it up, and I see paper clipped sections of different categories of documents, right? In some of these categories, the profile, her program form, the services that we've captured, assessments, trainings, credentials, measurable skills gains, her employment, her apprenticeship, that is to say, case notes, attachments. I don't have any attachments, but you can see all of the different types of documents in this electronic case folder. And of course, this is the data that supports all the reports, right? So we look at a profile, looks pretty similar to that self-reg form. All of the fields that are here for demographic information are on this form. We know that the feds only accept 9 nines when it's not a real SSN. We provide the help text directly from the Pearl for all of these fields, the only allowed values. So everything here is guiding your data entry staff through this process. Plus, of course, from our years of experience, know there's some fields that universally people want. So the form kind of comes with more data. And you may have other fields that you'll want to have added again. That's very typical, and we support that process as part of your deployment. Some of the real nitty-gritty gets into the program form when we decide that we're going to enroll someone in this program. This is where a lot of the business rules really get baked in and help guide your data entry staff so they can't make mistakes, but they don't have to have all the business rules memorized because it's like crazy, impossible sometimes. So I'll just run a couple of quick examples. So we say employed at entry employment status at program entry is employed. I'll just make that unemployed. When I change that, I now have some pink pop-ups that say if they're employed, then this field cannot equal a recipient of incumbent worker training. If I said no to this, the errors go away. You may also notice that my errors went away and my save button is now live. If I put this back, I've got errors on the form, and my save button is not live. And that is universal throughout all the forms, where if it's not right, the staff person may have just clicked it wrong, didn't ask the question quite right, the person misunderstood it, whatever the case might be, we're going to get it corrected before we save the form. And all of that is in support of you having to run that quarterly WIPS report and not have to chase down data. Now, of course, you can run your WIPS report whenever you want to. In fact, we encourage our customers to do that, like every other week, and really stay on top of the data. We have some customers, and ABA is going to likely be this way, where you're dealing with, thousands of apprentices. And back in the, tech hire days and Swiffy days, there were, a couple of hundred, participants total over 4 years. I mean, those days are over. So we strongly encourage our customers to, stay on top of this data and run these oversight reports as frequently as you can, and really, make everybody's lives easier. Anyway, so that's just a quick example of, some of the hardcore business logic. We're going to help you keep track of services. You've got a services catalog that's completely under your control for entering your own values here. And for this, and I'll jump over to my dislocated worker grant, from the participant perspective, being able to, and this is a similar type of a project with requirements for WIPS reporting, but has some very different values. So for example, their services catalog is rather extensive, but every single one of these categories, voc rehab, supportive, reportable, referral, other, individualized career disability, etc., these are all specific data elements, DEs, within the Pearl. So we can be very, very specific for tracking Pearl data while making it very easy for staff to enter this data and for Prime to know how to compute that for your WIPS file without you guys having to keep track of spreadsheets, frankly. And this, while I'm here, I'm going to jump and run this WIPS report so you can really see the difference. And this is the dislocated worker grant, but this is much closer to your WIPS file for ABA. It'll take just a few seconds to load. I only have a couple of customers, but there's, I think H1B that I just showed you has about 90 columns for WIPS. This report, I think, has closer to a couple of hundred. Not all of them are required for your WIPS upload, but it's a much, much more extensive, just goes on and on and on, WIPS file. So much more complex in comparison, but this is much closer to the ABA WIPS reporting requirements. Okay. So I am really bumping up against my time. I'm going to jump back to my presentation and try to wrap up here really quickly to keep everybody on schedule, because I know you have other things to do than hang out with me all day. But so quick wrap up value proposition. Why does anybody care? We have, pre-built template. Hopefully it's quickly deployable, grant specific applications. We can get your system turned on quickly, depending upon everybody's schedules. We can get your training scheduled, right away. All of our customers are hosted in Amazon Web Services. All of our customers have their own dedicated virtualized web server. It's where you guys take notes. There is no commingling of data. All of our customers are completely segregated in their own database. It's a single tenant environment. So as we are dealing with PII, that is incredibly important for you to know. We've been vetted over 23 years, as you can imagine, hundreds of times regarding how we handle PII, how we handle governmental data, your data, but private data. So we are very, very familiar with the requirements of handling PII. So we get your domain name, we get your site turned on, we get your schedule, your training scheduled, and we move forward, and you are really ready to go. I'll take you through your two-hour application training. I'm going to jump over to the implementation phase page here, and you'll go through maybe 4 hours total of application admin training, and the last part of that will conclude with me training you, how to train your staff, whatever that looks like. Depending upon the size and scope of your project, it might be just a couple of organizations. It might be organizations around a whole state. It might be organizations all over the country. I don't know. And so you might have a sort of a staged rollout, whatever, but I will help you with that. We've been doing this for years and have seen just about one of everything. And then you'll be ready to go live. And that's really it. Your application admin training will take you through how to support your own application, how to create your own services catalog, how to enter your own staff and manage their security credentials. All of that stuff is documented, and I will be the one who takes you through all of that because I'm one of our WIPS subject matter experts in our company. So I will take you through all of that personally. Okay, and that's really it. Then you go live. I've seen that go as fast as a couple of weeks to a couple of months. It very much depends. So often the training process exposes business process questions that y'all just never thought of before. And that's good. I mean, it is. It may extend your go live date, but it's good to kind of get some of those things bubbled up and talked through. But I see that quite a bit. Anyway, thank you. Here's my contact information. I hope this was helpful. And I again appreciate your time. I know everybody's super crazy and busy and wants to go on vacay and everything else, but thanks so much. Let me know how we can help. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.